Welcome to the January 12th edition of the PFF Forecast, the Super Wildcard edition.
Man.
You got to add the super on there. Just make sure you know it's a little bit better than it used to be, especially because it's here in Cincinnati. We're going to break down an awesome Wildcard weekend, talk about our favorite bets, pick a lock of the week, that now that we've turned the page on the playoffs, it's going to get back on track. We're also going to rank the head coaching vacancies. Let's rock. I know what number one is going to be for you in head coaching vacancy land. A spurned lover of yours. Maybe perhaps.
Isn't it objectively the best opening?
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. How excited are you for playoff football in Cincinnati?
I am. This will be the fifth Bengals game I've gone to this year. I'm going with our one of our best friends, Austin Gale, a Raiders fan. I'm looking forward to this. This has been an electric season for the Bengals. I think people are pretty pumped about them, and they should be. And I think that we picked Raiders, right, in our and that number has gone towards the Raiders at 5.5. It does seem like the right number finally. What do you think? Not to preview the game before we preview the game, but it just feels like people bought into the Raiders really early.
Yes, as they should. Look, all the signs, just like all the signs last week, pointed to the Chargers, and everyone wanted to take the Chargers. Same thing here. Everything points to the Cincinnati Bengals. They've had a week off. Joe Burrow rested, right?
He was like God on the seventh day.
Literally, because before that, he recreated the world for Bengals fans by beating and not just beating, but coming back from the dead against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so the taste in everyone's mouth with the Bengals is so positive. Yeah. And with the Raiders, it's like, yeah, we didn't think you were going to do it against the Chargers. You got, you kind of got lucky. You made it past Joe Lombardi's pathetic offense. I'm just saying, it's another situation of everyone against the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like at this point in time, like having profited off of the over win total,
you think you've squeezed all the juice.
Probably, having a 6.5 in my pocket here, it being 5.5 going through. I'm not saying I'm going to bet the Raiders, but here's bet the Bengals. Sorry, back and through. But here's a way that I would consider fading the Raiders, and that's with.
Is that your bookie?
It's my bookie. Sorry, I have to call. He's saying.
That was Antigua.
Sorry,
that was Antigua on the line.
Well, you have to get the mayor on the line every once in a
while. Right here, the mayor of Antigua, right here. Will you wear the shirt?
Yeah, I will wear it Sunday night. Well, you know me. Sunday night is my attire. The day when I go, like I let it go a little on the attire. I was on the Pinnacle podcast today, so I was wearing the shirt.
Sport the shirt.
Yeah. And
by the way, you know that I despise going to sporting events that I don't think are elite. And there have been times where I've had an opportunity to go to sporting events, like a Bengals game, and I've said,
I even offered to buy you Bengals 49ers tickets, your favorite team, and you said no. And that ended up being a great game.
Ended up being a great game. The point is, the only games I think are worth going to are island games between two really good teams. Now, this doesn't quite qualify, but I am bummed. I do want to go to this game. I am really bummed that I can't go to this game. The reason being, of course, that it's a NBC game. And so I'll be here in the office grinding it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm most worried about? So it's the early game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to my apartment on my bike after the game.
Oh.
And I'm a little worried.
You're going to run over a meth head or
what? Well, yeah, or the other way around. So the helmet will be worn.
And by the way, speaking to that, the
Math
NBC
heads?
No, it might. We might look like it, but the game on Saturday night, New England versus Buffalo, is going to be the debut of Ben Brown and my betting watch along, where we sort of talk about.
So you're coming to the office.
I'm coming back to the office. I'm going to be in the studio. Ben's going to be in Iowa, where he can bet legally. And we're going to be betting sort of like, and we did a little trial run of it with the Dallas Philadelphia game. It's actually, I think the viewers will have a lot of fun. But we, of course, we didn't want it to be the NBC game because of
Can we get some suggestions for what? Like just DM, or just comment when I tweet this out. What you'd like to hear Eric and Ben Brown talk about. I will certainly be on there commenting up a storm.
We want guests. Like we're going to have a guest.
Wait, you're going to have a guest?
Yeah, you're guesting in, of course. We're going to let you in.
You just made that up. I'm not actually. I haven't been requested as a guest. It was not put on my schedule.
Producer Ty needs to
you're going to blame Ty, are you?
Interesting. Because when we did the dry run Saturday with Philadelphia Dallas, we had Austin guest.
A little more moisture.
We had Austin guest in, but we'll have you guest in, of course. We'd love for you to. And there's going to be a part where we're gonna have the ledger of our bets, but we're also going to have situations where me and Ben bet are against each other. We'll bet against each other and take away the juice, and then of course we can have guests bet with or against us as well. So
I'm just like I said, it didn't hurt my feelings that much that I wasn't invited in the first place. We'll see. Maybe you need to call in the lefty. You never know. It could happen.
And you write left-handed.
I write left-handed.
You play sports right-handed.
Exactly.
Like Ken Griffey.
Yeah, very similar. Before we get to the target take of the week, which tonight, I should say, this is a Wednesday evening, is going to be us giving our takes on the head coaching vacancies by ranking them. I wanted to remind everyone that you can get yourself, just in time for the playoffs, I might add, a PFF subscription for 25% off with the promo code FORECAST, FORECAST. Now, let me break it down for you, because I know it can be confusing when you log on there, okay? If you want all the great content, and that's all you want, maybe you want to get some fantasy tools, maybe you want the draft guide. You like the draft guide. Draft guide's the best one out there by 1 billion miles. Get an Edge subscription. Absolutely, think about it per month.
Yeah.
Just an absolutely sensational deal, less than $5, less than $4 a month. If you want to bet on games, have that for you too. Less than $20 a month. Great opportunity to get all of the awesome betting tools that we have. The betting dashboards, the player props tool, the best bets tool. So in-depth, so useful for the playoffs. Get everything from our predicted spread, the chances that we think a team will cover, key injuries there, all the power ratings associated with quarterbacks and teams, offense, defense, all that stuff. Power rankings for the teams in that dashboard as well, with promo code FORECAST for 25% off. I'll also mention, and I should mention this, we're hiring a lot of people at PFF. If you love football, if you love sports, if you love soccer, if you love basketball, if you love betting, if you love fantasy, if you love making...
Like that kind of fantasy.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If you love making people happy with sports, then go check out our jobs page, pff.com/jobs. Some things we're looking for, user experience researcher, UI UX designers, product managers, both mobile and web, engineers, both front end, back end, and full stack. And if you have a data science background, if you're a math guy, you know that we're always looking for really talented math people to bring in and start answering some really cool questions. So if you don't see something on there that makes sense, you can always hit us up as well. But with that said, the target take of the week. Okay, here are the vacancies. We have the Broncos, the Dolphins, which, my God, what was your reaction when Brian Flores got fired?
Didn't make any sense.
There's a story there, right? There's no,
Well, I think we know the story, right? I've heard.
You think you know the story?
I've heard from a very reputable source.
Please engage.
That, well, so I've heard two stories. The first one is that the Harbaugh thing was real, and it just didn't materialize. But once, you know how it goes when
the Harbaugh thing was real, but he hasn't signed anywhere.
Yeah, but he also, I think Harbaugh would only leave college football for certain NFL jobs.
Okay.
And Miami might not be one of them, which is kind of weird given Miami's like, you could be Don Shula's successor eventually, all that kind of stuff. But
take there real quick, which is this. If Ross wants Deshaun Watson, let me tell you a person that John Harbaugh might not see eye to eye with.
I mean, here's the thing. Deshaun Watson was wanted by Brian Flores, not by Greer, and that was part of the friction. The other thing was,
I heard that all three of them wanted him.
Okay, so like we're just getting
a bunch of stuff. Like, okay, what's the other story?
Well, and I think this is pretty clear. Chris Greer and Brian Flores didn't get along.
Yeah,
and ultimately they chose. And I think one of the things that was reported. This is not something I learned from a source, but this was just reported. Was that they wanted to tank games in 2019 and Flores didn't want to, and they obviously won a decent amount of games at the end of the season, including the one against New England that sent New England out of the bye.
Yeah.
So there was a number of things there. It was.
Do you agree with the decision to keep Greer over Flores?
I think Flores. So here's my take. Flores has not been like what I would consider to be a woke in-game guy, fourth downs, all that kind of stuff. He does do the Jacoby Brissett thing, which I kind of like. Like, having two offensive coordinators seems kind of cooks in the kitchen-ish, all that kind of stuff. But Flores, I mean, you're talking about the back-to-back winning seasons in Miami for the first time since 2002, 2003, right? So I don't agree with firing him. I don't think you can fire. I don't think you send a terrible message to the locker room. And there's also the fact of the matter is there are not that many African-American coaches in the NFL. And if you continue to send this message to a league whose players are predominantly black, you are going to be a destination that players don't want to play for, right? Like, I think that the firing was ill-advised in that regard. If the relationship was irreconcilable, I guess that this is the route you have to go. But man, it sucks that it ended this way.
You're the historian here.
Yeah.
Back-to-back winning seasons. First off, can you remember a coach fired after back-to-back winning seasons?
Not really. So here's the one that immediately came to my mind, which was Chip Kelly. So Kelly had back-to-back winning seasons with Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez as his quarterbacks, and then was 6-9 the following year. They could not wait to get rid of him in Philly. Yeah. And then he went to San Fran, as you remember, obviously, and went 2-14, 2 wins against the Rams.
But he was fired after a losing season.
After a losing season, but he had like, if you added it all up, he had basically the same record as Flores.
Sure.
But no, I mean, I guess Jimmy Johnson was fired after winning 2 straight Super Bowls in Dallas.
There you go.
And they have not been the same,
yeah.
Obviously, since they did win one with Barry Switzer. Yeah. But and again, that's like the whole personality part of it that we don't factor in, which is, if two guys can't get along, and in the case of Dallas, it was Jimmy Johnson not getting along with Jerry Jones. They both wanting credit for the same thing. It ultimately goes on the power structure, right? Like an owner's probably going to be closer to a GM than he is a coach, and so when there's infighting, probably going to be the coach that gets let go. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I hope he gets scooped up right away because, as I said, I think the league is in a situation where progress could be halted if this kind of shit keeps going on.
Yeah. I'll just say this about the firing. Yeah, he might have not got along with people. If that's the case, this is the first time we're ever hearing about it. And I find that surprising in today's world. Yeah. So my take on it is pretty simple. I think it's bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit. And I think it's ridiculous. I think it's to me, it's an ego play by an owner who probably didn't like the fact that Brian Flores seems like a guy that sticks up for himself and is unwilling to compromise on shit that he thinks is ridiculous. And I, for one, if I'm looking at any of these head coaching vacancies, Brian Flores is very high on my list, if not number one on my list. Finding someone that can actually command a locker room and get players on a losing team to start believing in themselves and winning is fucking rare. So if you're the Dolphins and you're going to bring in like an OC or DC from a team and hope to get that same type of leadership, you're taking a big swing. I think it's stupid and ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I agree with you. And I think that there are two models to head coaching in the NFL that work. And the one, the one is sort of this, the one is sort of the genius offensive mind, right? Mm-hmm. The other one is what I would consider to be sort of like the Mike Tomlin role, right? Where you might not be the best tactician, and it's sort of like, but the fact is, and like he defied our predictions this year. Like the Steelers fucking play for Mike Tomlin, man, and it's also why the Chiefs shouldn't be laying 13 points on Sunday. Like,
can I also say this? Like the metrics for his team are impressive as hell. They are not a good roster. Yeah. Which, by the way, is the GM Chris Greer's doing. Tua average to below average. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua were his quarterbacks. He had no offensive line whatsoever, and he has a winning record against Bill Belichick. Like, I know that's a small sample situation, but like, are you fucking kidding me?
Not only a winning record, but he kind of ran up the score against him. What was he last year? They were 1-1.
I'm sorry that Tua was not capable of winning like a crucial game at the end of the season each of the last 2 years. My bad. Is that Brian Flores' fault? Okay, we've gone off the rails here. Bears, Jaguars, Giants, Vikings, Raiders, and as I mentioned, Broncos and Dolphins. We're not going to do the GM stuff right now. Let's just do head coaches, and then we'll do GMs.
Okay.
Do you want to go reverse order or?
Let's go. Okay. So what's the worst? What's the worst?
Okay.
Do we want to go alternate? Let's
alternate.
Okay. So I think the worst job of all of them is the Giants.
Why?
Because I don't think the Giants can do this right. Like take Flores for example, and I was talking about this in one of our company chats. Like everybody's like, oh, like what could Flores do with this defense?
Yep.
And I think Flores could do a lot with the defense. The problem is he would be replacing a guy who's already done a fair amount with that defense in Graham, right? And what this team needs, like my fear is that a defensive-minded coach is going to go to New York and ruin his career. A la Todd Bowles. Now, Todd Bowles didn't ruin his career, but he went there and they never gave him a freaking chance, and he's out. And it's like, oh, yeah, Todd Bowles can really coach defense. And, so I think that the Giants need an offensive-minded coach who can get – but then the problem is that can get the most out of Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones is, at best right now, a very weighted coin, weighted towards being awful.
Yep.
And the guys that they've invested in, like, look, if you just peel it back a little bit and say, okay, well, they have an offensive line that has a couple top, first and second round pick in Will Hernandez and Andrew Thomas. On offense, they have Kadarius Toney, Kenny Galladay, Evan Engram. We don't know his status. I think he's a free agent, right? Maybe coming up. Slayton, Shepard, obviously Barkley. And it's like, oh, there's some pieces there, and it's like. Daniel Jones might just suck, and it's going to be a tough job to get into.
I agree with you 100%. Brad Spielberger, I think, has pointed this out a couple of times, and actually, one of our interns, Arjun, tweeted this out, which is a graph of like effective cap space. The Giants have less effective cap space than every single team other than the Saints, who we know. The Giants, the Cowboys, and the Vikings. And they also suck. And that's a bad place to be. That is the worst one. Okay. I agree with you there. So next one. Would you go next?
Well, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yep.
Okay. I think the next worst, I love how we put a positive spin on this. The next worst situation. Unfortunately, and I hate this because it's a great town. But I kind of think it's the Bears.
So the problem with the Bears being, so what I like about the Bears job and what I like about the Vikings job and what I like about
Actually, I'm changing that.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Dolphins.
Yeah, because I think the issue is
The Dolphins. I'll say this. The reason for that, even though I like Miami, the reason for that is quarterback.
the players play.
Yeah, we just know more about Tua at this point. Yeah. And I'll also say this.
Did Tua have a good year?
He's a top 5 pick. He's a top 5 pick.
Yeah, he had an okay year, right? He wasn't a freaking disaster, but I think that's the problem is that like you have 2 more years left on the rookie deal before the 5th-year option.
Yeah, I should amend that. It's the Dolphins, even though they have one of the reasons that I was setting between those two teams, like the Dolphins have some nice players, like Jalen Waddle is freaking awesome. Obviously have some really great defensive backs. And they play in Miami, which is kind of cool. But yeah, let's go Dolphins.
Yeah. It sort of shows like how much some of these jobs have going for them, because I actually don't think the Dolphins is a horrendous job.
I agree.
Next up, I'm going to go Jacksonville, and this is because I know you have Lawrence. Yep. I know you have. In fact, if you look at like Chenault, Etienne, Lawrence, you look at that whole team and the number 1 overall pick,
Josh Allen. Yeah.
You have a lot of opportunity there, but I'm going to be quite honest with you. The fact that you don't get to move on from if I was a head coaching candidate, I would prize an opening at the general manager spot more than some of these assets here, because it allows you to sort of shape it, right? What was the biggest problem? Some of the biggest, look, the Niners have not been great since Shanahan and Lynch came in, but they're together, right? Like they make decisions that are sort of, you don't get a press conference.
Super Bowl.
You don't get you don't get a press conference where Shanahan's talking shit about the decisions Lynch makes and vice versa, right? The Trey Lance pick was them. Neither one of those guys side-eyed the other guy or whatever. Like it's together, and they made a Super Bowl. They made the playoffs again this year, which is great. So
you get to go next.
This next person here is
team.
What's that?
Team.
Jaguars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then now you go.
Oh, okay. I kind of disagree with that. The reason for that is that you have a chance.
Too late. It's already up there.
Yeah. You have a chance at having a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like how I'm thinking about this is like, if you want to have a long-term situation at any of these jobs, you need a great quarterback. And so I would have put them higher. But since they're off the board, who's remaining? We have the Raiders, we have the Vikings, we have the Bears, we have the Broncos. I am going to go, man, this is tough. And for me, it's between, unfortunately, the Vikings and the Bears. Man, I'll go with the Bears next.
So you like the Raiders and the Broncos ahead of the Bears?
Well, here's the thing. Don't you think those two teams have a chance to go out and lure like a legit quarterback?
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of my take there, is if you go to the Raiders or the Broncos, that is a team that a Russell Wilson, might want to come play for.
My issue with the Raiders. Okay, so you're gonna describe the niceties of the Bears for a sec, because that was your pick.
Justin Fields.
It's just Justin Fields, right? Because like the team around it is desolate,
good.
right? Yeah. The nice thing you have in Chicago is is you're getting a GM and a coach at the same time, which is great. Ownership has not been, thought of as a positive there for a while. We'll see if that changes. I'm going to go with Las Vegas next. Okay. I have them a little bit beneath the Broncos and the Vikings, and I would even have them beneath the Bears. The Raiders are similar to the Bears in that the talent is like the difference between the energy from the sun and the energy from like a battery pack.
Yeah.
Because you have Crosby, you have Ngakoue, you can get a Casey Hayward off the street, you can get a Denzel Perriman and a KJ Wright, and you can get this, that, and the other thing. But like your homegrown talent has been a complete joke for the last 5 years. You traded your best player to get a ton of draft picks, and none of them are good.
Yeah.
And People are chirping me because Josh Jacobs had a good game on Sunday night. We're happy for you. But like the fact is like this team has a kind of Kirkian quarterback, although he does show some spunk at times, and a roster that is just, and I just don't know if that's an attractive place. Now you get Vegas, you get a new stadium, you get an owner,
all those things.
But the owner's kind of broke. I don't know. Like there's aspects of that job that I don't find all that appealing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's fair. And the difference for me between them and the Bears, honestly, is like, first off, you're right. Neither of them have a lot of talent, but at least the Raiders have some talent and like an exciting situation that you're walking into.
And and we haven't factored in opponents in this one. The NFC North projects eventually to be kind of bad because you have the Vikings who don't know who their quarterback's going to be. You have the Lions who are the Lions, and you have the Packers who may or not trade Aaron Rodgers sometime soon. The Raiders are in a division with a team that we're going to rank higher than them here. Kansas City, who's got Mahomes, and then Los Angeles, who has Justin Herbert. So that maybe anyway.
All right, I'm going Vikings next. Reason I'm going Vikings next, their defense doesn't have a lot left there. Obviously, you get Justin Jefferson, which is great. You have Kirk Cousins, which you're going to need to move on from. And you get to bring in, obviously, a GM as well. They have a great fan base. They have a really cool stadium. They have a great ownership group. Really, in my opinion, a super awesome job.
Yeah, they're a first-class organization. But you're right. I think.
So, would you agree with me that the Broncos are number one?
After thinking about it, it depends upon how you view the differences between the two ownership groups, because the Broncos are up for sale basically now. And so maybe like that's a good and a bad, right? Like when Carolina was rebought, they've made basically error after error since. And obviously that's like the other side of it. You could get somebody who's a rock star buying the team and who does everything well. And then I think it's a slam dunk because the Wilfs have supported the Vikings. The Wilfs have gone out of their way to be supportive of the people they hire too. Like I think one of their blessings was also a curse, which was, they kept Spielman and Zimmer around a long time. They let them have wins and losses, right? And I think that from a prospective job candidate, that's a great trait. But here's where I agree with you. I don't think the Vikings roster is as talent. Like when we talk, I think with Schefter or maybe Rappaport was like, a lot of people want that Vikings head coach job because of the talent. And it's like, I don't see the talent. Like,
what talent?
Justin
Jefferson's a freaking beast.
They just signed because Kirk Cousins' deal. Now this might be an asset for them. Because Kirk Cousins' deal is $45 million next year, they've only made one. Their biggest free agent signing since the Kirk Cousins contract was Michael Pierce, 3 years, $27 million. Like this year was a bunch of Rashad Breeland, Patrick Peterson, Xavier Woods, all those guys whose contracts are up, right? So you have basically Jefferson, you have a running back in Dalvin Cook, who's now his higher salaries are popping in as a running back, hurt much of this year, not as effective as he was last year. An offensive line that is okay, but like getting better, but not great. And then a defense where you basically have one good player in Donnell Hunter and an aging Eric Hendricks, an aging Anthony Barr, who's probably leaving, an aging Harrison Smith. Like, I don't think that roster is actually good. I'm putting them second entirely because I think the organization has a chance to support these people well.
I'll say this. When Peyton Manning is the one of the owners of the Broncos, you're in a really good situation. I think the only thing that you've got to be a little concerned with is like if a new owner comes in that doesn't like you. So, that would be a little concerning, but you got to kind of have faith in yourself. They have an opportunity. You get an opportunity to pick a quarterback, basically, decide that pathway. You have a ton of talent around them where you're not going to have a quarterback come in who's just like, young and unable to handle those things. And I think if you are a veteran quarterback with a lot of talent, who's very good, this would be the number one place that you are looking to go. So, if that's Russell Wilson, if that's, Aaron Rodgers, you never know. It seems really dreamy in Green Bay right now, but we remember from last year how the tides can turn there. All right.
They don't have a ton of effective cap space, too. That's another problem with the
true.
Vikings relative to the Broncos.
All right. Before we get to the games, a reminder that it is cold outside. You've got to bundle up. You got to layer up. And that means you got to be trimmed. And Manscaped can help you make that happen. Keep you comfortable while you're staying cozy this winter.
Are you just spitting in God's face right now? Because God gave us, what Manscaped alleviates from us.
Interesting.
And you're using what God, the reason that He gave it to us as a reason to take it away.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just like...
That's interesting because I've never thought of it that way. I've really more thought of it as like, when I'm wearing 3 pairs of pants, this ain't that comfortable.
Yeah, I know. Look, we've strayed far from His light in wearing the 3 pants to begin with.
Yeah,
I think
true.
we should be a lot tougher than that. But...
Right. When you're wearing a fig leaf, you need all the.
So you're blaming Adam. Is what
basically, I'm blaming Adam. Yeah. Don't be an Adam. Go to manscaped.com and use promo
Dare
code.
to be a Daniel. Use manscaped.com.
Promo code PFF for 20% off and free shipping.
In the mail, please.
The Lawnmower 4.0, as I mention every single time, I actually freaking use it. It actually works. It keeps you safe. It also works on one battery charge for a very long time. It has a light in case you're in a place where you need to make sure you don't chop anything off. It will help you in that regard. Performance Package 4.0 gives you that plus a bunch of other great stuff, including their new Ultra Premium Body Wash. 20% off, free shipping with promo code PFF at Manscaped. All right, we are finally into it. Wild Card Weekend. We will start. Why don't we just go through all the games quickly? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's only 7 of them. No, there's 6 of them.
6 of them. One on Monday. First one up is Las Vegas, Cincinnati. This, of course, opened as we talked about on Sunday evening at Cincinnati -6, and is now Cincinnati -5.5. Total is 49. Now, these two teams played in Week 11, and Cincinnati blew the doors off the Raiders 32-13.
We had the over in that game. It did not
hit. Total in that game was 50.5. In that game, the Raiders were 1.5-point favorites, and those teams have kind of gone, obviously, in different directions since. Although, interestingly, the Raiders have covered 3 straight, winning 4 straight against a banged-up Browns team, a Broncos team that we just talked about, a Colts team that turns out to be not that great, and then, of course, that incredible Chargers game. The Bengals lost to the Browns with their backups, but before that beat the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Broncos in 3 straight games. They lost to the 49ers in Week 14. So where are you at with this one?
Yeah, this is one where I'm looking at the total. It's basically it's 49.5 early. Now it's 49, I think, in most spots. Mm-hmm. The weather has taken a turn.
Yes, it's going to be 32 and overcast.
And 11-mile-per-hour winds possible, which is not above that threshold. But then, we've obviously seen the trends, the trendy guys looking out and saying, well, Derek Carr in games that are under 40 degrees has been absolute cheeks, and I don't necessarily know if that's an angle to bet Cincinnati, just because Burrow also, it might affect Burrow as well. We make the number 6, so not quite enough to bet at -5.5, was enough to bet at 6.5 the other way. But I like under here. I think that the Cincinnati Bengals, we're overvaluing what we've recently seen, which is a high-scoring game by the Raiders, a high-scoring game by the Bengals, high-scoring number of games by the Bengals. And we forget that a lot of Bengals games played under for a significant part of the season. Yep. And their favorite thing to do sometimes is just hand the ball to Joe Mixon. And Vegas is another team where, they have not been a high-scoring team for most of this season. They got fat off of a Chargers defense that can't stop the run and can't, and is a little leaky in the secondary. They still don't have great receivers. The Bengals have pretty good secondary players. Yep. I think in Awuzie, Hilton, and Eli Apple have had a good season. Yeah. And Jesse Bates is a great safety as well. Hasn't had his best year this year. But so I like under here. That's the play that I would consider.
I like that. And a prop that I like that aligns with that is Joe Mixon over 19.5 carries. You can find all the props and all the bets on pff.com. You just click on the game when you go to the website, and drop a click on the best bets tab. You can see them all. 19.5 carries. So you think about under 49. You think about the wind. Obviously, the Bengals are a favorite in this game. And I have a feeling the Raiders are going to try and run the ball a bunch too. And so, you think about the game script in this situation, it just, I think everyone wants to see Joe Burrow air it out. I can see that maybe happening, but if he does, and he's successful, then Joe Mixon still has a chance to pick up those carries at the end. If you look at Mixon, in his last 5 games has not broken 19 carries, but in the 2 games prior to that had 28 and 30. And in fact, in that Raiders game had 30 carries. So they are going, and he rested week 18. So they are going to be willing to run this guy into the ground.
Nothing takes the air out of that stadium.
Like Joe Mixon. Okay. Saturday evening. This is
you can tell the season's getting late, but George is a little finishing my jokes, but also just shaking his head at them. Although the new one was the Manscaped one. The Manscaped one. I feel like I come up with a new Manscaped joke every time, and
it's what we pay you for.
Well, that
that and other minor things.
Speaking of what we are going to get paid doing, I think we're going to get paid betting the New England Patriots in this game.
Patriots +4. Yeah. We bet it at 4.5 on late Sunday night. It's now moved down to 4. Total of 44. Now, let me go hit my AccuWeather forecast. Actually, I'm looking at this on the PFF mobile app, which you can test out if you want. And it is going to be very cold. What I have here is that it's going to be 6 degrees with winds of almost 11 miles per hour. Is that right? Let me refresh here. 10 miles per hour.
It's not going to be great there.
Yeah. And so that to me is just perfect for the Patriots, right? Mm-hmm. It's perfect for the Patriots. It mitigates all of the strengths that Josh Allen has. And honestly, it's not even about Josh Allen. In that game, the windy game, I thought
Josh Allen was great.
He was amazing. The problem was his receivers turned into stone, and that's what I'd be worried about. So, I love the Patriots.
Did you know that Josh Allen set a career high? And I know it's 17 games. He rushed for 760 yards this year.
Rumbling.
But because I was looking at his statistics, and obviously, PFF grade, down by 10 points passing. His
still an overall grade of 87 though.
Completion percentage down by 6%.
Yeah.
Yards per attempt down by a full yard, and passer rating's a bad statistic, but we all know the scale. It's down by 15 points.
By the way, that's your new saying. You say that every single every time.
But you can tell, we know
the scale for PFF grading too.
Yeah. Well, it's down by 10. So Josh Allen has regressed this year. My biggest question is when those two teams played in Buffalo on that Monday night, the spread of the game opened 3.5, closed 2.5, and I understand the close at 2.5 was because of the weather and all that stuff. But the opener, how much different is what we know now? We knew Mac Jones was limited back then, and we saw it manifest in a few games, right? The Colts game, the Dolphins game, and all that. But how much different are these two teams now?
Yeah.
Why are we giving Buffalo such a premium? And is it because of experience?
I think it's got to be that, but also the Mac Jones stats are not good, right? And
no, he's been cheeks.
And I think everyone is looking at that. He was a top 5 graded quarterback, really through the first 10 weeks of the season, and has been in the bottom half of the league since then. By the way, go to pff.com to check out all the detail there. But that's a bigger issue if you're playing in a dome. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be nearly that big of an issue. And I really like, as you talked about, the Bill Belichick back in the playoffs narrative. I love it.
This is the first time, by the way, that Bill Belichick will have been on the road in a wild card round of the playoffs in his career. Even the Browns game, they were a wild card team, but back in '94, the highest seeded wild card team got to host a playoff game, and he beat Bill Parcells in his first and only playoff game as a Cleveland coach. So this is unprecedented for Bill Belichick. as a road player in a road coach in the playoffs. And I believe this is one of just 2 times he's been an underdog, or one of I think 2 times prior to this an underdog in the PFF era in the playoffs. So this is just uncharted territory for him.
Who was he underdog against before?
So Denver in the AFC title game, I believe in 13, when Denver was a house.
Ah, that's right.
And they went on to play the Seahawks.
That
and
makes
then
sense.
and then 2018, they were underdogs in Arrowhead by 3.5 to the Chiefs.
That's right.
And they won that game outright.
Yeah.
That game not only had really great drama at the end, but because the Chiefs were up by 4, down 3, up 4, down 3. It was also a point spread drama game.
A point spread drama game.
In that one. So Belichick, he got killed by Denver in the one time he was an underdog in Mile High, beat the Kansas City Chiefs as an underdog in 2018. So we've seen both sides of the coin with Billy.
I love getting the 3.
I think he was underdogs in a bunch of the 0-1 games. But
total 44. I love it. All right, Philly Tampa. 1 p.m. game on Sunday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 8.5-point favorites. It's basically been where it started at. I think it started 9, and now it's
9.5, and now it's 8.5. Some places still have 9.5 to protect from the teaser.
From
for
the
example,
teaser.
Pinnacle had that last check.
Money line, Phillies plus 300. So bet 100, win 300, and the total is at 46. This is in Tampa. And the weather is not going to be great, but it's not going to be nearly as bad. About 60s, chance of light rain. Everyone, actually, wow, I'm glad I have this app. 21 mile per hour winds in this game.
Yeah, so there are going to be
light rain, 21 mile per hour winds, 61 degrees.
Our recommendation for the total of this game has changed from, so our line, just to be transparent here, this thing opened at 49. Our number was originally 49.8. It has now dove, because of what you're talking about, to 46. We make the number 45.8, which is basically, it's a decent value for us. Actually, we make it 44.9, so a full point there. So that would be a play on the total. The last game between these two teams, I remember this because Greenline had the under, and we bet Tampa minus 6.5 in our article.
Yeah.
We got because, and this brings up a good point. Have you noticed in the sports betting space an increasingly big number of curmudgeons that get mad at the evidence-based decisions when they fuck up their bets?
Yes, I'm one of those people.
And I've noticed this, and it makes me angry because, and I noticed it in that Chargers-Chiefs game where everybody and their grandmother had the Chargers plus 3 or whatever, plus 3.5. Yeah. And everybody was so pissed at Staley because the game went in overtime. They lost their bets. And to me, if you're not pricing in the variance of this new world that we're living in, stop bitching about it. It's your money. These coaches don't give a fuck about your bets. Stop talking about it. But there was a little bit of that chatter in this Bucs-Eagles game on that Thursday night early in the year.
Right.
Bucs were on the road. They're 6.5-point favorites. They were up 28-7. Total on game 50.5. It actually went under. And the Eagles scored and then went for 2 when down 14.
Yep.
Game closed 6.
Yep.
Everybody's mad because Eagles covered.
Oh, I was pissed.
Yeah, but don't get
I didn't go on Twitter and yell about it.
Yeah,
Maybe
don't get mad at the coaches. That's my issue. Is
not.
I feel like that there's this new brand of I'm going to rant about this guy's decision making. It's you're not being smart. You're just not seeing the game evolve.
Yeah.
And you're getting mad because you're losing bets over it. Stop doing that.
So I don't mind betting the Eagles plus 8.5. I really don't. But everyone loves the Eagles. And everyone loves the Eagles because of their run game.
Yeah. Mike Lombardi chose the Eagles, which I think on principle, I'm just not going to bet it now.
Yeah, that's a good principle to have. I wish there was another game that I could tease this with.
Okay, so here's what I'll say. It's not a Wong leg.
Oh, no.
It's not a Wong leg.
Oh, dear.
Tampa's a Wong leg.
It is.
Right? Through 7, through 3.
Give me a right leg.
Chiefs through 10, 11, 8, and 7 teased. So like,
you get the 7. Yeah.
Like if you tease the Chiefs down to 6.5 at home against a dead as a doornail Pittsburgh Steelers team, the only issue is, and our model does not show, and we'll talk about it. Our model does not show value on the Chiefs. In fact, we probably like under in that game, meaning like a 6.5 might not be, but like that would be the leg that you could tease it with. And I wouldn't. It's not a Wong teaser. So you have to like one of the sides more than in the normal like 50-50 cents. But that would be the one where you're actually teasing through at least one key number, which would be Chiefs through 10 and 7.
Yeah. I like it. I don't hate it.
It's the GOAT teaser. It's Mahomes and Brady.
Yeah, there it is. Actually, that's not terrible at all. Okay, this is the game of the weekend. It is San Francisco. I'm not saying
Look
that
at
because I'm a
you.
Niners fan.
You're so
This is the game of the weekend. It is Niners Cowboys. If you don't think this is
close
the game
to
of the
spread.
weekend,
I will give you that. It's close to spread.
it's the closest spread. These are two more storied franchises with a couple of others. I mean, this is one of the best rivalries out there.
By the time we got to the 90s, both teams were tied for the most Super Bowl wins with 5.
This is an awesome game. Niners, Cowboys. It will have the best rating, I think, of the season. I think it could eclipse the Brady Belichick Sunday night game. Cowboys are a 3-point favorite. I think I saw 3.5 out there somewhere. Total is at 51. We believe that obviously Trent Williams will be back in this game after he missed the Kyle Shanahan demolishment of, is that a word, of Sean McVay. Demolition, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. I still personally do like the Niners. I am concerned just because their secondary is not super strong. And obviously the Cowboys have a really good offensive line, and they should be able to protect Dak. But there's something that just...
You can also get this at 3.5, which I think is
there's
too many.
There's something that just...
Well, here's the...
Can I please, for a second here, regale you with the Cowboys from week 14 on? Actually, let me go.
We'll just throw out the Washington.
Let me just go week 13 on. Okay, so they lose to the Raiders in week 12, 36-33. They then go on a winning streak, but who do they beat? They beat the Saints, right? I believe that was with Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. It was ugly.
Yeah. They then beat the Washington football team, where they got out to a big lead. The football team is a terrible team. They got out to a big lead and then almost gave it back to like the second string football team. Then in week 15, they beat the Giants. Congratulations. The fact they gave up 6 points to the Giants is sad. In week 16, they beat the Washington football team 56-14. Everyone's like, they're back. Their offense is back. Week 17, they lost to the Cardinals. It was like the only good game the Cardinals have played. And then in week 18, they beat the backups for Philly, but that game was actually kind of close for a little while. I would like to find where the Cowboys have supposedly put it together of late, because I don't see it.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the two most impressive victories they've had were in high-profile situations: a Sunday night game against Washington, a Saturday night game that we all watched, gracefully, I guess, against Philly. So, whereas the 49ers, so here's the thing with the Niners, and this is why, this is my take on the betting in this game. And it might not be worth like a lock of the week or whatever, because it's not a spread pick. Total on this game is 51. That's exactly where we make it. Highest total of the week, indoors-ish. Indoors, right? Yeah. Old Texas Stadium had the roof so God could watch Herschel Walker run. But like but this is a game where you take San Francisco on the money line, because I think that here, with the variance plus being the way it is, the points are just not worth as much, right? Because look, like Jimmy G, 2% big time throw rate, 4.6% turnover worthy play rate.
Yeah, but in the clutch,
there's a game. There's simulations of this game where Jimmy Garoppolo you can't win with him, right? And in that case, what are the 3 points worth to you? They're worth less. They're not worthless. They're worth less than a normal game. 51 being the total is also a reason why they're worth less. Just to tell you, Dak's of that ilk right now too, where he's either lighting this motherfucker on fire and you're losing 31-3, there's not a whole lot you can do. And yet, if he plays like his median game over the second half of the season, like the Niners should win.
Yeah, it's a really good point where with Jimmy G, this is the best point.
Greg Zuerlein can't make a freaking kick. That's another thing too.
This is the best point you've made all podcasts. But it's a really good point, which is with Jimmy, it's super high variance because you've got this thumb situation, right, where he's obviously not 100%, and he could come out and what they pump him up with could make it so that he's just feeling good. Kyle Shanahan is in his Kyle Shanahan versus Dan Quinn is the biggest mismatch of this entire wild card round, and I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. The Dallas defense is really full of themselves right now. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're really aggressive. Good. I am excited for you after playing all those terrible teams to go against Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Kyle Shanahan's offense. But if Jimmy plays well for Jimmy, they're going to win this game.
Yeah. The issue is like, again, I think of this game, the microcosm of this really game is Trayvon Diggs. So Trayvon Diggs is either going to intercept Jimmy Garoppolo twice and Dallas is going to roll, or Jimmy's going to throw it over his head to Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel. By the way, over-under. What is Deebo Samuel's receiving yards this year? How many did he have? Without looking. Don't look.
1,000?
He had 1,400 yards this year.
Oh, wow. Is that many?
Did he have that many? He had 1,700. So Deebo Samuel, if you look at him,
1,400 receiving yards.
Deebo Samuel this year
injured for a couple.
No, he missed one game and 2 starts. This is Deebo Samuel's receiving this year. 77 catches, 1,405 yards. He averaged 18.2 yards a catch.
Amazing.
6 touchdowns, and then on the ground, this is where I would have bet over. He had 59 carries for 365. I would have guessed more yards on the ground. 365 yards on the ground.
They're also high leverage.
8 touchdowns on the ground this year. Like, this motherfucker had 1,770 yards and 14 total touchdowns.
Is that I forget who posted this, but on run plays, he had the second most expected points added total.
Yeah, I mean, he's nuts.
Total, not per run.
That just shows you how shitty running the ball is in the NFL.
Total. Yeah. Like, Jonathan Taylor's the only guy ahead of him. Every other running back accrued fewer expected points added because they run him in key situations, and he's still successful.
Let me ask you another one because this is funny. Because you and I, once we got ingrained in the efficiency data, like, you forget about like the hallmark stats. And again, we're in 17 games, so it's a little different. How many yards did Brandon Ayuk have through the air this year?
Oh, this is not enough. What do you have, like 600?
He had 826 yards in the air this year.
He came on.
Yeah, he came on. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Niners have weapons, man, and like the Cowboys in the secondary.
He did figure it out at the end.
Yeah, the Cowboys, I just think are a little bit overrated on defense.
I'm with you.
Give me the Niners money line is a pick I like in this game.
Pittsburgh goes to Kansas City. We're gonna have to watch this on Sunday night. This is gonna be cold as, it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be 21 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 mile/hour winds, overcast.
Been flopping around out there.
Chiefs minus 12.5, total at 46. I like the tees. I don't like any other play in this game.
Yeah, under's tricky because the Chiefs could just open a can and. The Steelers have been kind of plucky offensively. The other thing is...
You know what? Actually, I do have a play in this game I like. Going back to our roots.
Oh, the over touchdown prop?
Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns. I wrote this down and I almost forgot to say it. It's plus big money out there. Plus 150, I see it right now. Over 2.5 passing touchdowns, plus 150. You're not going to see that very frequently. I know, of course, he has not been prolific of late. 2 straight games with 2 passing touchdowns. The 2 previous, he had 3. Here's the bottom line. Steelers defense is not very good.
Yeah. And they've masked it the last couple weeks because they've gotten to play a Browns team whose quarterback is a duck, basically. And then, the Ravens had a backup quarterback out there and really that it was tricky. I like that. Let's go with that.
What is the Steelers win this game? How do they do it?
Oh, it's pretty easy, I think, to see. I don't think it's going to happen, but the elements of the sample space are TJ Watt just ruins this game, right? Like Orlando Brown is self-described, and also just by looking at him, he's unathletic, right? He's an unathletic tackle who is pretty good at just getting big and eating space. TJ Watt, who I get it, like we didn't put him on our first team All-Pro, still freaking good. Like TJ Watt could ruin this game for Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's fair. The thing that, and I tweeted this out today, the Chiefs this year, kudos to Brett Veach, number 1 in the NFL in WAR generated per dollar spent on the offensive line.
Wow.
They've had a very good year. And they showed in the Bengals game that they have more outs, right? Tooney can play left tackle if somebody gets hurt. Orlando Brown can play right tackle. Lucas Niang's out for the year, so they have Andrew Wiley. They have Mike Remmers. Yeah. They have Kyle Long. All guys with starting experience. That was something they didn't have in the Super Bowl last year. So I think that the risk there is minimal, and I think they'll figure out how to neutralize Watt. But Watt's totally good enough to ruin a game for Kansas City. And then the other thing is the Chiefs the last 2 weeks have just not tackled anybody. And the receivers for the Steelers are pretty good at taking short passes from Big Ben and running. Deontay Johnson, if he hangs on to the ball, is a pretty good player. Ray McLeod has been good. And then Chase Claypool's the big wide receiver that has given the Chiefs fits. Like Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick gave them fits last week. And then, of course, against the Bengals, it was T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So if Big Ben just gets in this YOLO ball mode, and that's kind of how I feel about this game. If the Steelers, if I were coaching this game, I'd just say, look, you're going to lose if you play conservatively. So you just have to throw the ball up. And Cincinnati did that. And they knew that if they didn't hit those balls, Chiefs are going to win by double digits. If you do hit them, that's your only way of winning. And that's what the Steelers have to do. They have to rush the passer with TJ Watt, and they have to basically challenge the Chiefs' corners down the field in the way they didn't in the first matchup.
You've missed the biggest way that the Steelers can win this game. This is the number 1 weapon for the Steelers is a Jackson Mahomes TikTok. That's the only thing we can say to the Steelers. Comment. Before we get to the Monday night game and our lock of the week, a reminder that DraftKings is the place for you to go place your bets for the playoffs. Use promo code PFF, and if you're a new customer, place $5 on any football team to win their game, and we'll get $200 worth of free bets, and then you'll be set up for the playoffs. You can pick any team to win. The biggest spread, obviously, is the Chiefs, so that might be a way for you to go. And if you don't have sportsbooks available in your state yet, because that does happen, you can still benefit from daily fantasy contests with huge cash prizes on DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook, plus a free shot to win $1 million in total prizes with your first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code PFF when you deposit. As little as just $5 on any college or pro team and get $200 worth of free bets. It's a really good freaking deal. Promo code PFF. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers eligible. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required, 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have a gambling problem. Also, our friends at Western and Southern Financial, a place that helps you if you have any financial situation that you want to make sure you get figured out, or you just want to be smart with your money. They are giving you a chance to get the ultimate game day feast. And all you have to do is ask a question, whether it's about football success or financial savvy. Go to westernsouthern.com/askchris and ask Chris any question you want about any of those topics or something else. Ask him about golf, for all I care. Best question will be read on his podcast on his YouTube channel, or on the PFF YouTube channel. And when you do so, you get entered to win a fully expenses paid $2,500 value catered big game party on February 13th, 2022. So don't forget to check this out. Go to westernsouthern.com/askchris. Ask a question, win an awesome meal with you and your friends on big game day from Western and Southern. All right.
So here's a question that I have right here.
Okay.
So this game is being played Monday, which is after our Monday morning, Sunday night pod.
It is.
Interesting question. Let's revisit this because I don't even think that this is like our models don't like anything in this game. Let's just be upfront. We liked 4.5 when it came out. That's probably a good number. It's now 4.
Total 49.
What do we think? So
Rams -4. By the way.
There's an issue. There's an issue with respect to like, let's say the 5 games happen. Do you think that the bettors chase this at all? Do you think like could we make a prediction? Could we make a prediction on where this line will be by Sunday night? That I feel like is a more fun thing to do.
That is more fun
than to actually pick the game because we could pick the game, Sunday night if we want to.
Man, I think this will move back to 4.5 or 5. I think people believe in Sean McVay. I think the narratives and trends around Cliff Kingsbury are not strong. And the power numbers for the Rams are, their EPA per play is really solid. So yeah, I think we'll be sitting here on Sunday night, maybe not here in a different studio. And I will once again be here fading the Rams at 4.5 or 5.
Yeah, I think if it gets above 4.5, if it gets to 4.5, I don't know. So here's the thing. Public money does not move betting markets except possibly for the Super Bowl. But even then, we've seen the Super Bowl sort of stay flat for most of. So the narrative, and a lot of people will tell you this, is like, okay, everybody's down bad by Sunday night. They're going to chase. And usually they chase Sunday nights because a lot of like PPH books and stuff will collect on Monday morning or whatever. But like the idea is that like people will bet the favorite if they're down bad during the week, and that'll push the number out. But I also just think like I think that the Cardinals, I don't know, I do think that the Cardinals are going to be faded a little bit just because of the idea of Kingsbury, the idea of I think the Rams, if you like sort of squint, for example, they have 3 of the top 6 most valuable non-quarterbacks in the NFL. Like I think if you squint at the Rams, they look better. It's the global thing, right? It's like that when it doesn't add up to as much as you think to with them.
Here's
so
the
people,
thing.
I think, will back the Rams as the week progresses. I could be
the
wrong.
Interesting thing. We have Kyler Murray power rated higher than Matt Stafford. I think a lot of models out there and a lot of people will not necessarily feel that way. And they will look at Stafford as the better quarterback. We have the Rams as the 5th best team, 1st best in our opponent adjusted defensive ranking. And a lot of people are going to anchor on that defense. So yeah, I do think it moves out there. And I think this is a situation of better quarterback getting points. Lock of the week. Where do you want to go?
I've liked New England the most this week, but I can be persuaded to take your Niners. I could also be persuaded to take the teaser. I could be persuaded to get the Patrick Mahomes price.
I think you were strongest initially on the Patriots. I don't love where that line has moved, but I think it's the soundest one. Total of 44, so that 3 is worth a little bit more. The weather, I think that's the right one. I love the teaser as well. I'm gonna bet that. I've already bet the Raiders, and I'm betting the Niners money line, and hopefully those end up being plus EV by the end of the night.
Yeah, no, So where do you think, because the Kansas City line has moved from 13, that is why you are getting the nice teaser.
Yeah.
Tomlin I agree with you. I don't think that this number, I think if you bet the Patriots right now +4 from now until the game, you're getting the best of it. I think that number is probably going to close at 3.5. I could be wrong. Of course, we could always be wrong. I think with the Niners at +3.5, +3.5 right now, if you bet that, it might get worse. It's just trending towards 3.5. So all of that one's a wait and see possibly. The Steelers Chiefs, the fact is people believe in this Tomlin as an underdog narrative, right? So you might not even be getting the best of it, teasing them down to 6. And the same thing with the Eagles. So you've seen this a lot with very public dogs, and that's what the Eagles are. But it's a dog that the public and the sharps like. Oftentimes you'll see that number stay at like 9.5, 9, and then like right before close, it closes at like 7.5, right? And that's just people like taking the last bit of value, waiting on it. And so that teaser, I don't think you're getting the best of it now. I think with Niners, as much as we like them, and I do think you should bet them, you're not getting the best of it now.
Yeah,
I think the Patriots is the best bet to make right now.
Yeah, I agree. And Niners plus 3.5, but the money line I think is a great point. You wait on that as well. Okay, that was the podcast. We'll be back with you on Sunday night. We love you all. Thank you for hanging out. See ya.